Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jerry Cooley.
I'm Deborah Nelson. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
Been on a break for a while.
Yeah, folks. You know, from time to time, hey, you know, we put a lot of effort into what we discuss here, and we just needed a little bit of break. We needed to prepare for the upcoming elections.
Yes.
You know, we will be very busy, but a couple things I wanted to kick around today. And folks, I don't know if you watch this on TV, but J.P. Morgan was called in front of the U.S. Congress.
Yeah.
The U.S. Congress said, you have to come up here. J.P. Morgan, their head guy was a fellow named Jamie Dimon. I don't know how closely you follow it in the news, but they made there was some stock trades that was made, and J.P. Morgan lost about $2 billion. Now, what's interesting to me is, although they did lose that money, and there are stockholders at J.P. Morgan, J.P. Morgan appears to be very strong financially, and certainly, to my knowledge, that they didn't reach out to Congress for a bailout because they lost money in the market. But I was just taken by the fact that behind the grandeur of the oak cabinet that my congressional members are sitting behind, that they had the nerve to call a person from a private investment firm, to call him on the carpet over losing some money. And the buffoons that we have in Congress is losing $2 billion a week. He lost $2 billion one time.
When you say losing, what do you mean when you say losing?
Well, throwing it away.
They're spending it on something.
They're spending it.
Yeah, it's not, as Jon Stewart put it on the Daily Show. It's going into roads and things like that. Theoretically,
it just amazes me that the audacity of Congress, and Jeff Miller is one of them that's been up there for I guess 10 years now. I don't keep track. That's your congressman. You folks keep voting him in, not me. But for that group of people who have left us in the worst financial shape in the history of the United States of America.
But wait a minute, how have they done that?
Huh?
How have they done that?
Look at the national debt. Spent all of this bailout money on and on and on.
The depression we're in has to do with the housing market.
And your commander-in-chief has played a big role in it.
Well, it started before him, but
You know, but a group of people that can't manage anything. You know, we're sitting here.
They managed to vote themselves a raise every year.
We're down on jobs. The economy is down. You got third world banana republics that are looking better than us financially, and they call a private business owner in and want to question him. It just befuddles the mind.
Here's what it is. They're upset because J.P. Morgan had insinuated back when all the major part of the housing crisis was happening that, oh, well, we made good, safe investments. You know, we didn't buy these derivatives and all this other stuff. You know, we paid it. You know what I'm saying? We made wise choices, and it turns out that the choices they made.
They obviously they made a financial mistake.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Is the problem is that if these financial entities had been regulated like they had been after the Depression, and they had been paying attention, the government I'm talking about, all along to how they were doing business.
Oversight.
Yes. If there had been oversight to begin with, then they wouldn't have had to call this guy in. It's like, well, we don't want to regulate, we don't want to have to pay attention and do our job, but we're going to call you in when something goes wrong.
Right.
Is the problem there.
Well, it just amazes me that a group of people that the vast majority of them have been in Congress, actually until 2010, when we the people replaced 115 of them. And folks, once again, we didn't replace enough of them in Washington, D.C. 115 of them did make a difference. It slowed the freight train down a little bit. But this year we have an opportunity for 435 U.S. House members and a shot at 33 senators. And it all needs to be new faces up there. I mean, but just the gall of these people. They won't answer a question. all this TARP money, all this bailout, automobile bailout, and the junkers for clunkers for cash, and all of this junk, and they have the nerve to question a successful businessman simply because there was one bad trade made by his business.
Well, there are quite a few bad trades, but I get your point.
If that is the standard by which Congress goes off of, that a person in a private business makes a group of trades in one day that lost a lot of money, then all of them should be in prison because they make a bad decision every day of their life.
Well, that's debatable. I think the point is, if you're that concerned about what's going on Wall Street, then maybe you better start paying attention to what they're doing, and maybe you better start regulating them and having a little bit of oversight.
Well,
obviously, if they can make that kind of ripple in the economy, maybe there is a role there for some oversight.
Right.
It certainly, after World War II, certainly served us well to have a Glass-Steagall Act and other types of oversight in place.
Well,
it levels the playing field. They all have to play by the rules.
Right.
When they have oversight, they've all got to play by the rules.
Yeah, it is just completely unbelievable. Now on another topic, and folks, I would hope by now that I could announce to you all that we were finally done with Team Santa Rosa, but here we go again. The Board of County Commissioners.
It's a gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, the Board of County Commissioners in October told Team Santa Rosa, you need a new director, a qualified individual to run your organization, you need to change the name of the organization, and you need to rewrite the bylaws. Folks, that was October of 2011. It is now. We are in the month of June, and Dave Hawksing is still messing around with this stuff, and I don't know if you read the Pensacola News Journal today, but I'd like to repeat what Mr. Hawksing had to say. His statement to the press was that the only reason they changed the name of Team Santa Rosa was to satisfy the politicians. And the only reason that we're rewriting the bylaws is to satisfy the political winds that are blowing. Now folks, I think we have, myself and along with Deborah, we have laid it out to the nth degree, all of the reasons why we need to pull the plug on Team Santa Rosa.
But now you and I disagree a little bit. I actually agree with Dave Hawksing. I believe that I don't see why you need to change the name, and you and I just disagree on that. I don't think there was any point to that. They did spend a lot of money setting that quote unquote brand up and that kind of thing.
Well, you know, Adolf Hitler probably thought his name was pretty good too, but it wasn't. It's according to what coffee shop you go to and do a survey at.
Right.
I will tell you, Deborah, my close personal friend, tree-hugging liberal, that any place I go into, if you start up a conversation about Team Santa Rosa, you better be prepared to fight your way out of that.
I understand that, but here's what gets me is that the point of this organization is that it's separate from government. It's supposed to be its own corporation, its own entity.
Right.
And so, you know, you have this entity that you would expect to make their own decisions for themselves, and now he's trying to do that. In his defense, he's trying to do that.
They're incapable of making a decision.
And that's my point, is why do they exist to begin with?
Right.
Get rid of them, because you've got inherent problems with that business model, if you will, that you're just not going to be able to solve. It's internally contradictory.
You know, here's the thing that just continues to amaze me, and I tell you what, we need to. I'll make sure that Dave Hawksing gets a copy of this so he can watch me tell this to him. Mr. Hawksing, quit biting the hand that feeds you there, brother. You get $460,000 a year out of the taxpayers, and you keep lobbing insults at the Board of County Commissioners. Now, if you in any way, shape, or form think that's helping economic development in Santa Rosa County, you're sadly mistaken, sir. Lobbing insults is not what we need to be doing. Now, I will tell you this, folks, and it's not often that I say things like this. But I called WEBY this morning, and I encouraged all the listeners to call into the Board of County Commissioners and send them an email. Let your feelings be known whether for or against. But your commissioners need to hear for you. And I'm going to say the same thing here, folks. Pick up the telephone. If you're as angry as I am about this, that this situation has drug on for far too long with zero tangible results for the dollars that we've put out there, investigation after investigation, lawsuit after lawsuit. It's time to end this grand experiment, folks. Pick up the phone, call the county commission office, be nice. There's a nice lady that's going to answer the phone, and you say, would you please give the following message to all 5 county commissioners, and it'll get done. Or send them an email and tell you what you think about it. But this is ridiculous. This has been going on for years. Once again, let me remind you folks that Jeff Miller, your congressman, and Don Salter was the 2 people that cooked up this idea. And the experiment has run its course. It's time to move on. It's time to do something different. And all this time that we have been putting up with Dave Hawksing as the chairman over there, throwing all these insults in the media and all this kind of stuff, in Escambia County, Jim Heiser's very quietly continuing to bring in jobs, very quietly making.
I haven't seen any jobs coming to Escambia County.
I've looked at the numbers, yeah. Yeah. So, you know, folks, it's time to end. But I mean, are you saying stop that flow of money to them, or are you saying change the structure? I'm saying move it under the county today.
Okay, well that's right. Okay,
move it under the county today.
They're saying it's a separate entity. It's this independent project. Oh, but we want to tell you how to run it.
Well,
you just can't have it both ways.
You know, when you have a group of people that allow a chairman to run rogue and continue to insult and assault and all the things that he's done.
That's not bothering me though, to be honest with you. I mean, that, like I said, they're a separate entity. He's free to say whatever he wants as chairman.
Well, he can do it without my money.
Here's what irritates. I agree. Well, here's what irritates me with Team Santa Rosa is this, in my opinion, thing was stood up to provide a buffer zone for stuff to happen under the table that certain selected county commissioners wanted to happen, that they didn't want to be subject to sunshine law and didn't want to be in the public eye. So Team took care of it, like the Fulham property purchase, swept it under the rug, and then the county commission just approved it.
And the $170,000 federal grant to the ID group and several other things.
Well, they're funded $400,000 a year. Well, that's just their operational funds. Let's not forget they get
advertising dollars.
They get all kind, and they hand out tax breaks. They hand out quote unquote incentives.
Right.
We've seen reduced price land that I suspect in some cases ended up being free in the industrial park, and so on and so forth. And so this is an agency that wields a lot of influence as far as how to spend our tax dollars.
Right.
Why are we still funding it at all? When there's been no job growth that I've seen.
I agree with you.
Where are the jobs?
I agree with you 100%. The experiment needs to end, folks. I encourage you, call your commissioners, tell them what you think about it, and let's cut our losses and move on and try a different model.
Well, let's use the money to widen roads and blacktop them, and maybe do something.
Put in infrastructure.
Maybe do something about the situation about driving into Milton from East Milton every day at around 4 o'clock that I'm getting real tired of.
Yeah.
Do something about that.
All right. Well, we've beat those 2 to death. Now, folks, this is something that every election cycle. This is something that Deborah and I believe in very strongly. What we see in other media around us, the candidates are typically asked questions by the other media outlets, and they don't give them much space to expand or really actually say what they want to say. Here at Santa Rosa Week TV, we basically turn our TV show over to all the candidates for this election cycle. Now, of course, the vast majority of them are going to be settled on the August 14th date. We will in the primary election. We will have some additional candidates that we will fit in between August the 14th and November, the ones that for those contests that will be decided then. So, look, and we do this, and as I've said before, you know, Deborah, you know, I throw a little money at this project. Deborah puts a lot of work into it. You know, it's just a community service. We believe it's important, and we want to give the candidates an opportunity. So,
and we've seen a bias in the local media towards incumbents, especially well-entrenched incumbents, where other candidates don't get any kind of a platform to say anything.
Right. So,
And I'm just going to mention we're not going to include writing candidates.
right.
I mean, you had this year because of the census and the reapportionment. People had way fewer petition signatures they had to get on the ballot. I mean, if you can't get
Right.
out and get that small nominal number of signatures, you're not a serious candidate. We're not going to
Right.
interview you.
Right. So, you know, first and foremost, we're gonna go over the list of the races that we're going to cover in this year's election cycle, and we will do our best with a stopwatch included to make sure that every candidate gets exactly the same amount of time. And what we've typically done in the past, Deborah usually does a lot of the interviews. There's going to be some ballpark questions thrown out there to give candidates, you know, to give them an opportunity. And then we, it looks like we'll have enough time to let all the candidates have 2 to 3 minutes apiece of just look in the camera and tell the folks what you're going to do and what your plans are. So let's go over the races, and the way we're going over them is not necessarily how they're going to play on the show. We've got to group some of these folks together. But the first race we're going to talk about is the Clerk of Courts. Mary Johnson is the incumbent in that race. I believe she's been in office for 4 terms now, I think. In that race, she is being challenged by Don Spencer. Okay. And in this race, both candidates are Republicans, and this race will be decided on August the 14th. So one of the things, and while it's fresh on my mind, folks, because of the political makeup, the vast majority of our races are going to be decided on August the 14th. So, you know, you usually have a larger turnout in the general election, but the important local races are decided August 14th. And so in that race, Clerk of Courts, Mary Johnson versus Don Spencer, both Republicans, and that race will be decided on August the 14th. District 1 County Commission race, Jim Williamson holds the seat currently. He is being challenged by one-term county commissioner, Tom Stewart, and also by Mark Cotton. There's Mark Cotton, a local real estate guy. So there's 3 people in that race. In that race, all 3 of them are Republicans. That race will be decided August 14th. Next race is County Commissioner District 3. The current holder of that seat is Don Salter. And in that race, Jeffrey Kelly is a challenger as a Republican, Ed Carson a challenger as a Republican, and Marvin Fowler a Republican. All 4 of the candidates in this race are Republicans. That race will also be decided on August the 14th. All right, now we get to County Commission District 5. Go ahead.
Okay, well, the incumbent is Lane Lynchard, a Republican, and the challenger is going to be Pete Sutherland, who's also a Republican.
Right.
And that's the District 5, which is down the south end, Gulf Breeze area.
Right. So, in the District 5 race,
And
will be decided August 14th.
Our county has all open commissioner races.
Right,
so
yeah, and I'm glad you reminded me of that. Some areas are different. Escambia County is different from us. In all of our races for Santa Rosa County, they're across the county. They're county-wide races. Although a county commissioner or school board member lives in a particular district, the vote is still county-wide, so make sure that you vote. So all 3 county commission districts this year, all decided August the 14th. Just going down the list, and I'll go if we have time. There's a couple offices that didn't have any challengers this year. Greg Brown is currently the property appraiser for Santa Rosa County. Apparently, the folks felt like he was doing a good job, so he didn't get a challenger. School Board District 2, the current incumbent in that race is Hugh Winkles. I believe he is a 5-time incumbent. He is being challenged by Joe Poole. Kind of interesting, and we'll take a couple minutes to explain it. The school board members run as no party affiliation. The superintendent race, they run as parties, but the school board members are no party affiliation, so everybody gets to vote in this race. So you have two folks, the incumbent Hugh Winkles and Joseph Poole as the challenger in that race. School Board District 4, in that race, Joanne Simpson is the current holder of that office. She has decided that she is not going to run for office. So in School Board District 4, which is kind of the Pace area, there are 3 people in that race: Charles Elliott, Ms. Grancy, and Bill Bledsoe. And so those in that race, you have, that race is wide open. So you have there's 3 folks in that race. In the sheriff's race, and this is one of the races that's going to go to November the 4th. Let me tell you the 2 candidates to start out with. The current holder of the office is Wendell Hall. He is a 3-term incumbent, going for his 4th term in office as a Republican, and he is challenged by Chuck Sloan. And that race will be decided in August 14th. Now, there is another candidate in this race running as a different party, INT. So the winner between Wendell Hall and Chuck Sloan will face Mr. Chris Roper on the November ballot. So this is basically a Republican primary is what this works out to be. So Wendell Hall versus Chuck Sloan, you make your decision on August the 14th. Then the winner of that will face Chris Roper on November the 4th. Superintendent of Schools. Current holder of that seat is Mr. Tim Rosdick. He is a 1-term incumbent. He's in his 1st term, and he's being challenged by Dr. George McCormick for superintendent of schools. They are both Republicans, and that race will also be decided on August the 14th. So the next race is supervisor of elections. Ann Bodenstein, who has held the job, I guess, 3 terms now. She's decided to retire, so this is 2 new people. You have Tappy Villain, who is currently working in the supervisor of elections office, is one of the candidates, and former county commissioner Buck Lee and current SRA director for Santa Rosa Islands Association, Buck Lee, is also challenging in that race.
And Ann Bodenstein's had it for 2 terms.
2 terms, yeah. Okay. And both of those are Republicans, and they are that race will be decided August the 14th. Stan Coley Nichols. This is one of the other seats that was not challenged.
Tax collector.
The tax collector's race. Apparently, everybody's good with how Mr. Nichols is running his office.
Or nobody else wants to do the job.
So that race goes unopposed. The last, we have 2 state representative races that we're going to cover in this, and you have District 2 and District 3. In District 2, you'll have Mr. Clay Ford, who is the current holder of the office, versus Jeremy Basso. That'll be challenged District 2. That's kind of mostly Escambia County and like the south end of Santa Rosa County. And in District 3, the current holder of that office is Doug Broxton. He's the incumbent. He's been in there 2 years. is being challenged by Mr. Jerry Williamson for District 3, and that's the rest of Santa Rosa County and a small piece of northern Okaloosa County.
Yes.
And so that, that kind of goes over all of the local races. Now there's some other things in there, Blackwater soil conservation and fire districts, but with time and certainly let me say I respect anyone who will get out there and run for office, but we do have a limited time frame here, so we've tried to pick out the offices that we think garner the most attention throughout the county.
Yeah.
And get those taken care of. So you're watching this show now. The following Saturday, all the way through the Saturday before Election Day, all of these shows are going to air. And if Mediacom will work with us like they did 2 years ago, they also took some of these shows and ran them in other time slots besides our 4:30 on Saturday time slot. And also one of the other things that we do is Deborah will get these up on YouTube pretty quick, and all the candidates will have access to that. So should you miss our regularly scheduled Saturday 4:30 to 5 show, there'll be extra resources for you to be able to find it on YouTube or go to your candidate. We make sure as soon as it's on YouTube, we make sure all the candidates get the show that they're in, and they'll be out there blasting that to the world. So we look forward to it. I think it's going to be an exciting election year.
Yeah.
And
this is a full one.
Very full presidential election year. A lot of folks running for office. So most important thing, folks, is and I say this every 2 years. If you vote, you get to complain about what happens. If you don't vote, I don't want to hear it. And in the night of August the 14th, when people start running to me and they don't like how things worked out, that's going to be the first question I ask you. So be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Exercise your right to vote. You still have time. If you're not registered to vote, go register to vote. If you want to change party affiliation, go change your party affiliation.